11:05 here at KBHB, the Kevin Phillips Country Classics program being kicked back to the noon hour so that we can bring you this special broadcast today. You've heard us talking about it throughout the week, and of course one of the more interesting things happening in Sturgis right now is a vote to decide whether or not the community will continue forward with a race that was planned by the city of Sturgis on the final day of the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally. It is our pleasure to welcome a couple of guests here today that are from AMA Pro Racing. Richie Morris is here with us, as well as the CEO of the organization, Gene Crouch. Hi, gentlemen.
How's it going?
Hello, Dean.
Thank you for joining us and spending some time with us today. And what we want to do is kind of tell you what we've been hearing from around the community about this, and see if you can address some of those issues. And then, as I said earlier today, I was on Bob Luby's show, I guess yesterday morning, and I told him that we wanted to ask the hard questions about this event and address some of the rumors and concerns, but that also we wanted to give you guys a chance to speak and tell your story. And I'll say right off the bat that I've admired that you've been in town now for a week or so. Well, Richie, in your case, Richie, you've been down for many, many times. How many trips have you made here, I heard you say?
We believe it's 12. I've lost count, but I've been here for almost 2 weeks this trip.
Wow, that's so you've spent a lot of time here working on this over weeks, over many months. This last week or so, I guess it became clear to you guys at some point that this was an uphill battle, some things you didn't even know about, and so you've been here on the ground trying to get the word out.
Yeah, our goal was to get up here and get to know the issue firsthand and engage with the local community and find a way to be able to hold this race in a way that aligns with the will of the community and the citizens. In fact, we're about to buy a house for Richie, I think, so that way, he'll have a home base up here.
He's kidding about that, by the way.
So let me back up just a little bit, and even before we really kind of get into the details of what's going on here, tell us a little bit, because I'm sure a lot of our audience isn't totally familiar with AMA Pro Racing, and what do you guys do?
We are the professional motorcycle racing sanctioning body based out of Daytona Beach, Florida. The company was formed in 2008. Jim France, who is the CEO and chairman of NASCAR, formed the organization in order to take over the rights to professional racing from the American Motorcyclist Association, which is based in Pickerington, Ohio. So we began sanctioning, conducting, and promoting professional motorcycle racing for a variety of disciplines in 2008.
Would I be correct if I were to say that AMA Pro Racing is really the premier motorcycle racing organization in the United States?
Yes, that would be fair to say, and we work very, very hard to maintain our relationships with the motorcycle industry, with our manufacturers, with our promoter partners, and to continue motorcycling in general, making sure that that motorcycling is promoted in a positive way, and to make sure that motorcycle sport is conducted as safely and as professionally as possible.
So are you to motorcycle racing what NASCAR is to automobile racing?
That would be a perfect corollary.
A lot of people will just say AMA, and that gets confusing at times. And we're AMA Pro Racing. So two different companies, and we like to keep that clear because sometimes they just say AMA because before 2008, that AMA did run the Racing Association, the professional side of it. After 2008, it's AMA Pro Racing.
Community of Sturgis, a number of years ago, there was an AMA Supermoto race. Tell me in kind of layman's terms, what's the difference between that and what you all are doing?
So the AMA is it continued in their role as the government rights body that supports and promotes motorcycling across the U.S., as well as their capacity as the amateur sanctioning body. So AMA Supermoto is the amateur version of the Supermoto discipline of racing. It's the event that was held here is participant driven, and it is the amateur version of what we do effectively.
To cut to the chase on this thing, I think when I'm going about the community and just the things we've heard and the things that people have written to us on our social media since we said we were going to do this, the overriding concern is the city of Sturgis is going to spend $700,000 or whatever this number is, $650,000 a year. Some people extrapolating it out as a $3 million investment. And that has struck many of the residents as an extremely risky thing for them to have done. And what's your first impression when you hear that that's a concern of the residents?
I could completely understand that concern because they don't have the full picture and they haven't heard the entire story of what that $650,000 actually represents. And what it represents is an opportunity to make a significant amount more than that. A motorcycle race it can be the anchor property for the city of Sturgis, to have a sponsorship asset that can be monetized in a major way. And I'll give one example. In 2015, we had a series that was generating around $300,000 in sponsorship. And we needed a way to elevate that. And what we did is we went and put it on television. We did a deal with NBC Sports. And after that first year of being on NBC Sports, we were generating $1.3 million, and then that number continued to increase. This represents not just a similar opportunity, but a larger opportunity for the city of Sturgis, because what we are going to bring is a major exposure opportunity with Fox broadcast coverage. That's what drives the sponsorship revenue.
I think a number of residents are saying, wouldn't it be more normal for a city to maybe roll out the red carpet for a promoter and be in a position where they make money for sure, but the promoter is assuming most of the risk. And I think a lot of people in the community feel like that would be a more normal situation for a city to be in, as opposed to be the promoter themselves.
Yeah, and that wasn't an option. That wasn't an option that was ever discussed with us, or an opportunity that we would have been able to avail ourselves of. We were approached in 2022, late 2022, about conducting and organizing a race so that the city would have an asset to sell. And with the city then taking the financial risk on it, they would reap the financial rewards. And that includes both sponsorship as well as any merchandising or food and beverage or any of the other financial opportunities that come along with taking the financial risk on an event. So this has been constructed since day one with the city's goals in mind, which are to elevate the second weekend and to bring in economic benefit and direct cash sales into the local businesses, as well as to create this sponsorship opportunity for them through an anchor property like the Spirit of Sturgis TT.
So if to the extent the rumor is, hey, these guys from Florida show up in Sturgis and sell the city a bag of goods, that's not exactly how this relationship came about, is what you're saying.
That's correct. Yeah.
So the city approached you.
Yes.
And approximately when was that?
October of 2022, somewhere in there. It was the fall. I remember pacing around my backyard when I first got the phone call about it, because I went, wow, this is a game changer idea. This is bold. But our response at the time was that there wasn't enough time to properly do this and to do it in a professional and safe manner. Even just with that 1 year, they were originally talking about doing or hosting the race in 2023, but our position was that we think it's a wonderful idea, but there simply isn't enough time to do it in a proper manner. But we offered to advise them on things like safety and how we run professional events, and so we invited them down to Daytona Bike Week for 2023, and that's where we roped Richie into the relationship.
I think there's some frustration that you all have been visiting with the city about this for a long period of time, and have a lot of time invested into it, and yet a lot of affected residents and businesses feel like this was really kind of sprung on them without a lot of communication or back and forth and input and feedback from the businesses in the city beforehand.
Yeah, we've come to learn a lot about how municipalities work. This is the first time that we've ever done a deal with a city or with a municipality. I think had we known some of the things that we know now, we may have been more active in coming up and communicating with the citizens and using some of the mechanisms that we now know how to use. For example, the forum last night.
I will say this: I do believe the city had the best intentions for the city of Sturgis. I know every one of them, the mayor, the previous mayor, and I think they have the best intentions for the city. If we had, like Gene said, if we had known that we could come up and have forums and inform the city of what we're working and what we're doing, and had we had known that the city was not maybe doing that, we would have come up and done it. And we're not blaming the city. We're not saying they should. We just have never done anything with a municipality.
Now we are where we are, and you guys have been here on the ground talking about this race and about how you think it can have an economic impact on the community. And then also, I think you're going to talk with us a little bit about just what it means for an organization like the Big Fox Network to broadcast this and what that can mean. So I've come to understand from meeting with you all a number of advantages to this, and I think the community is as well. And I do give you all a lot of credit for the time you've spent here in the past week for sure. So let's talk. I want to back up again just a little bit and talk about fundamentally when this race will be and how it will work. And so just give us a little nuts and bolts of the event as you see it.
So the race was originally proposed to be on Saturday, August 10th. And we've been on every city council call or in person at many of them over the last 6-7 months. And we heard loud and clear from the local business owners that Saturday would be a difficult day, but maybe Sunday would be a better day. And this was earlier on in the conversation. So we adjusted the plans, and now it has been planned for Sunday, August 11th, where we would be setting up and tearing down in the same day. We would go live with motors no earlier than noon. And we would plan to wrap up the racing components by 6 p.m. and then have the streets cleared before sundown.
From your perspective, if businesses are concerned about how much business could be interrupted on the say the Saturday, the day before, you're saying very little, if at all.
There will be no disruption on the day before, and in fact, there should be a significant economic lift because of the fact we're going to relocate all 800 to 1,000 people that are just the racers and teams and their families, and we're going to relocate them up into the Sturgis proper, the city of Sturgis proper. So there's going to be economic lift from our core group, and there won't be any impact because we won't begin setup until 2 a.m. on Sunday morning.
And then at the end of this deal on Monday morning, it's going to be like it almost didn't happen.
We got to roll on to the next city.
800 people in your traveling body. You're not talking about a single fan here. You're talking about all of your people and the racers and their families and people that travel with them. So there'll be an 800-person impact before one fan shows up.
That's correct. Yeah, those are just our internal people. And we have that traveling circus that goes around the country, and it's the same group of 800 to 1,000 people of racers, their families, industry support personnel, team owners, crew chiefs.
Those of us that are in the business of the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally have been concerned for many years about the second weekend and how the second weekend has become weaker over time, and we have some theories on why that may be, but the city, I do know, one of their original ideas of doing this at all and approaching you at all was because they had heard those voices as well, and they were looking for a vehicle to improve the second weekend.
From looking at some of the reports that I've now seen about the rally, the last 2 days, it looks like the traffic falls off pretty rapidly.
Yeah.
You go from an average of 60,000 a day down to 40,000 and then 20,000.
Yeah.
So what this represents is an opportunity to bring in a different group of people and to recapture some of the people that maybe are at Deadwood or other places and give them something to come back to the downtown Sturgis area to watch and to spend money with all the local businesses.
Yeah.
The way that the course layout has been set up is intended to push people into the local businesses. The sidewalks are going to remain open, and there won't be any competing food and beverage vendors. So the Oasis Bar, for example, in the Loud, there's going to be people right there adjacent to the racetrack that are hungry, thirsty, and looking to spend money.
Yeah, and I think you're to be commended for that, and so is the city. I mean, I think I've expressed frustration on this radio station for the way that the city failed to communicate this event. But I also want to give them credit for the original idea of trying to improve that second weekend because it's vitally important to the event, I think. And I've always said that I tend to believe that people tie vacations to a weekend because it can extend their time. And it shouldn't be surprising to us right now that most people decide to tie that to the first weekend, because that's where all the activity
fun is.
And then the second weekend of this event, we've we, in some respects, and I'm not trying to fault anybody for this, but a lot of our major league sponsors and vendors start to leave even as early as Friday and Saturday, and on Sunday we don't block the street off, even though it's an official day of the event, and we're kind of figuratively screaming, leave town, and then wondering why the second weekend isn't successful. And so I admire that this was an effort to alleviate that and to find something that could bring a whole new crowd of people in on the second weekend. And I want to come back to that as well and talk about some of your demographics and why this is from your perspective, this can bring a whole new demo to Sturgis. But before I do that, and you didn't mean this as funny, Gene, but I got a huge kick out of something you said earlier, which is that I might not have the timing exactly right on this, but when I met you a couple of days ago, you said to me that you signed the deal with the city of Sturgis one day, and the Fox contract for Big Fox Network to have a broadcast roughly the next day, and about the day after that, you release this information, and then somebody calls you up and said there's been a referendum, and you said, "What's a referendum?" And I got such a kick out of that. But explain what you meant by that. That's you didn't even realize that was a possibility of something that could happen.
Yeah, and the word referral and referendum, the referral was something that I got in high school, for skipping class. So I had to learn quite a bit about the referendum process up here and the petition process, and it's been eye-opening, with all the other contracts we have. When you sign the contract, you got a deal and you're ready to move forward. There was even a rubber stamp or a stamp on this contract we got.
Yeah.
And so we respect the citizens, and we respect the process, and we understand the situation we're in. But yeah, it was quite a surprise when I got that phone call. I went, "What do you mean? What do you mean referendum?"
Oh man! And then, but on a more serious note of that same thought, you do have a contract. And you've in turn entered into other agreements. Where does this leave the situation if the vote doesn't go your way on Tuesday?
Well, we're a bit in uncharted territory, which is why we decided we've got to get up there and we've got to get boots on the ground, and we have to tell our story. We have a good story. It's going to be a very beneficial thing for the city of Sturgis and for the citizens of Sturgis. But we got to tackle this thing head on, and so we're all in. We're all in, and we're up here to make sure that the citizens have all of the information they need to be able to decide to vote no and save the race.
It didn't take me long to realize we probably, had we known all of this, the mechanics of this, we would have been here sooner. Because everyone I've spoken with, after telling them the facts and the income possibility and the real facts of this race, they walk away, well, if I'd have known that, we wouldn't have ever signed the petition. We would have been fine. So I think we should have, in hindsight, maybe we didn't realize the way that the whole city part works, and we would have been up here promoting and making sure that everyone knew the facts.
You guys are not the first and probably not the last to be members of the passionate Sturgis local politics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. And I'll say my observations at the forum last night. There were a lot of people there that I think came in opposed to this and walked out rethinking it, and hopefully a lot of people saw that online as well. And that was one of the main motivators for us to want to do this special program, was so that your story could be told. And I still want to back up and kind of go through all the elements of that. I think I do have to ask you, what is if this vote fails, you have signed contracts and obligations, and the city has entered into certain obligations, and is this not a legal quandary of some sort?
Yeah, and so my understanding with the referendum, it was a vote to it's going to be a vote to whether or not to reject or approve the decision to sign the contract. This isn't a vote for whether or not to have the race.
A good point. Okay.
Our goal is to be as collaborative as possible, and to find a way to reorganize the situation and engage with the citizens and find a way to move forward. There's a tremendous upside to having this race, both for the citizens of Sturgis and for the city. And it's something that we're all in on. We've committed and we have signed contracts, and we've got contracts ready to go that'll, again, be direct investments into the city of Sturgis. We need to get there.
Right. Okay. So fair enough. So some people have talked about, why would the city of Sturgis do a 5-year deal with these guys when why not try it for a year and see how it goes? Kind of address what the concept is behind a longer term deal.
So in motorsports, typically when you're going to do something new, your first year is going to be a break-even year at best, right? You're gonna maybe have to do a little investment in the first year, but when people see it, that's when then the spark happens. That's when next year you get phone calls about partnerships that you never even thought would be possible. That's when you get a tremendous upside in terms of attendees that second year, and then you grow from there. So a 1-year deal would be limiting. It would be something that many people would be not aware of, even though I'm pretty sure everyone around here is aware of what's going on these days.
Right.
But yeah, in motorsports, you grow events after the first year. That's when they really take hold.
And I think most people that have been involved in promotion would know that too, right? Like, it's actually, in my opinion, to the advantage of the city of Sturgis to have a longer term deal, because they want to assure that you're going to still be around when the good years start, when the thing really starts to take hold and works out, right? So they weren't. I'll defend them that they weren't going into that blindly. They were looking at, hey, it's an investment year one. You do a little better year two, and in theory, making sure this race is around for a while was an investment for them to reap the real benefit of the thing.
Right. Yeah, and the lift that will happen because of this is not just about the race. It's about the rest of the rally, the rest of those 10 days, and the sponsorship and everything there will be a significant lift because of the race being the anchor property for all of those other sources of revenue. And I'll add to that real quick. I see Richie wanting to jump in. Our goal was to partner with the city and to partner with the community and to be here long term. We feel very honored to have the opportunity to be invited into your homes and to come into the city of Sturgis. We're from a little city called Daytona Beach, Florida. We know about the trials and tribulations and opportunities of coming or living in a rally city. In fact, I lived a block off of Maine for almost a decade and heard the motorcycles roar up and down for 14 days. And we know how again, what the challenges are, but also what the opportunities it presents. And
He's just a bike hog, Dean. I guess he's the CEO. He can do that. No, the 5-year deal, as I said last night, and I really hope everyone will find that meeting online on the Facebook pages that it's on, and really watch that meeting and listen to the questions that were asked and our answers. But the 5-year deal, when we first started negotiating with the city and talking about the past, and as I said last night, there had been a lot of people come in do a 1-year deal, one and done, take their money and run. Mm-hmm. And we wanted a partnership with the city for not just 5 years, 50 years. I mean, this thing could grow into maybe the Isle of Man or something. You just don't know. Everything starts somewhere. So the 5 years didn't scare us. And it didn't scare the city. It was more of a partnership.
When you see that, those people that have a long history with the Sturgis Rally or just events in general, the Sturgis Rally has some of the citizens' natural reservedness are from previous 1-year events that don't work out.
Agree. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so there's just a natural hesitation to trust the next round of it, right?
Yes. And I think I think it was mutual on both sides. We both wanted the 5 years, and we would have discussed a different number, but that came up, and we were all okay with it. And we felt it sent the message, yeah, we're here to stay. We're not one and done and taking the money run kind of thing.
So that's a good lead into the economics of this and the ways you think you're going to make a contribution for the city to not only not lose money but ultimately make money on this. And and it's coming from a few different ways. But let's just dive right in wherever you think it makes the most sense.
Yeah, initially the way that this thing was concepted was that we wouldn't be involved in the sales side of it, sponsorship side of it. That this would be an asset that the city would then monetize. over the course of the negotiation, we started talking about the partners that we had in our stable, and there was a lot of interest we were already hearing from our side. And then there's sponsors that the city has that we would love to be introduced to, like Jack Daniels and Coca-Cola. And so over the course of the conversation, it turned to, well, can we help each other here? And once we started making the phone calls to our motorcycle manufacturers and to our industry partners, there was overwhelming interest. And so right now, or actually I should say over the course of Q4 and going into Q1, we had enough financial pledges from our partners alone to cover the city's costs.
Wow.
Entirely. And that's before the city then would reach out to their partners and before any new brands were to come in. And that's in year one. So we know that this thing is both a commercially viable opportunity, but also a financially viable opportunity for the city.
With the time that has been lost, do you think can the city still break even in this year?
So we need to get rolling. We were ready to start sending contracts on the city's behalf and getting the money flowing in, and this has set us back. And we're now into Q2. Some of the companies we work with, their fiscal year starts April 1. So I'm less confident every day. I know that right now we could get really, really close.
So why does the money flow in? If you're not in this business at all, as many of our listeners are not, what makes companies want to spend this kind of money with you and in turn with the city of Sturgis?
Motorsports in general has a fan base that is very brand loyal. I saw this Clark County, Nevada economic impact report after the F1 race, where they said that the motorsport attendee spends 3.6 times more than the average Vegas traveler. It's a pretty powerful statement, right?
Yeah.
That's a big number, yeah.
And in the fan world, fans support the brands that support sports, right? Mm-hmm. And so not only are they a very brand loyal consumer, but they are an affluent consumer that spends money with those brands, right? So that's what underpins the motorsports sponsorship model. The brands that are associated with the motorsports are looking to get in front of those consumers because it's a very valuable consumer to them. So it comes down to eyeballs. It comes down to the number of fans you have, the number of attendees, the number of viewers. And that's what then will drive the sponsorship dollars. So this opportunity, which could draw, an additional 40,000 people into downtown over the course of Saturday and Sunday, that's a pretty high value proposition for a sponsor. Add to that the Fox broadcast and what the exposure will do there. And we're talking, there's millions of dollars of opportunity here.
The reason why the motorcycle manufacturers that are not coming to Sturgis now are wanting to come for our race is the adventure bike class. So you might want to bring that up, Gene, because that's a big one.
Yeah, the City of Sturgis, the Spirit of Sturgis TT strategy dovetailed with another strategy we had been working on, which was to develop a professional racing class for adventure bikes. Adventure bikes are the fastest growing segment in motorcycling. The sales were up another 10%. So we're talking motorcycles like the Harley-Davidson Pan America, the BMW GS, the Triumph Tiger. There's nowhere to race these motorcycles right now in their street trim. And so providing that opportunity to these manufacturers is very interesting to them and had been. So while we were exploring that strategy, the City of Sturgis had approached us, and the track that we are looking at doing is a hybrid circuit. It's part asphalt, part dirt, which is exactly what the marketing case for an adventure bike would be. The consumer that purchases an adventure bike, he rides mostly on the highway, but he can also take the bike on dirt roads and off-road. And so the two strategies really converged at the right time. We have 10 manufacturers that are not currently in downtown Sturgis that are looking to bring outside investment in and to have 10 days of activation footprint, 10 days of demo rides, which is 10 days of their customers coming out and trying their bikes. It's 10 days of their staff being in downtown Sturgis and going to eat at the local restaurants.
This isn't just the 6 hours on Sunday that this will impact the community.
That's correct. It'll be for all 10 days for many of the partners that we'll be bringing in.
And bringing in OEMs that have not participated in a big way in Sturgis, some ever, and others not for decades.
That's correct. Yeah, we had one brand. When we were talking to them about this opportunity, and they said, "Well, we haven't been to Sturgis in 10, 20 years because, man, I don't even know how we would get back. What do we just start picking up the phone and calling local parking lots, or what do we do?" And they said, if you can help by coordinating a location for us, and we said, absolutely, we can do that. That's the goal of this thing. And so it's the right idea at the right time to really capture the imagination of the fans, but also the marketing investments of the manufacturers.
In addition to improving our second weekend, one of the long-term concerns is the age of our demographic and trying to draw a younger demographic. And as I've told you when we've met before, I don't necessarily share the same fear of that some do, but I think any event is interested in expanding its demographics. And so to talk about that piece of it a little bit, how not only is it going to bring people to town that haven't been here before, but how the demographics are a little bit different.
The adventure bike customer is a younger customer, they're a different customer than the traditional Sturgis Rally attendee. So this gives an opportunity to turn that second weekend into kind of a mini adventure rally for enthusiasts to ride in from long distances on adventure bikes and to participate and engage with the event, but also with the other brands that we're looking at bringing in are also focused on this adventure component. Because of what it represents for motorcycling. It represents a younger demographic and a new customer that may be coming from dirt bikes. They may be coming from, a super bike or a crotch rocket, that kind of thing. Now they're going to adventure bikes. And so that's the opportunity that it represents.
Harley Davidson, they're documenting. They're having a documentary of some guys they're going to film them coming from California, riding to Sturgis, then preparing the bikes to race in the race, and then document them going back to California. So that kind of interest, with the companies like Harley Davidson that want to get behind this adventure bike, it's moving the needle, and it's just a total different, like Gene says, demographic and economic impact.
Well, and Harley Davidson has the same demographic concerns as the Sturgis Rally does.
That's correct. And what we're seeing right now with bagger racing, Harley Davidson has correctly identified the important value of motorsport, of using a sporting component to market and advertise your brand to a consumer and to a younger consumer, and it's working.
So back on the economics, I don't think people are. You guys cleared a lot of that up last night or 2 nights ago when you did the forum, but I still think people aren't clear who gets the money.
City of Sturgis and the citizens of Sturgis. Through direct financial investment, outside investment from brands that are not participating in the form of sponsorship, but as well as the lift in sales taxes, which go to offset the cost of services like fire, police, EMS, and ultimately help to keep taxes down.
So the city of Sturgis will be the benefit of the sponsorship. Do they get? How do they benefit from the television coverage?
They'll be able to. That's tied in directly to the sponsorship assets that are going to be sold.
So those people will. You'll see those banners on television. And how about the television time itself? The commercials.
So the commercials. There's we're working on a commercial rev share with the city of Sturgis around this. That'll be a part of this. So our goal is to make this work financially. We're all in on this. But I'll also add to that the lift for the city of Sturgis' other sponsors. You pointed out the banners. The value of the sponsorships that the city of Sturgis sells will go up tremendously now that there's broadcast coverage on them, because the exposure that's generated for those banners and for any of the content that the city of Sturgis would like us to include in the show, the exposure value is tremendous when you get to a broadcast network, when there's millions of American viewers from coast to coast that are tuning in to watch that hour.
You talked about this a little bit last at the forum as well. I keep saying last night, and for clarity here, one of the things that's throwing me off, I almost always do things live, but today we're celebrating my mother's 80th, my mother-in-law's 80th birthday party, and so I'm having that at the house. So instead, we're recording this on Friday for broadcast as you're hearing this on Saturdays, why I keep bouncing back and forth and having the date a little bit off. But at the forum, you used the term spots and dots. Talk about that. Spots
and dots in the television advertising world represents spots, which are commercial spots, 30-second commercials that air, and then dots are the logos that are displayed on the screen, whether it's an actual logo that's up in the scoring ticker up at the top, or if it's a sponsored element like a live onboard or a corner of the track that may be sponsored by company X. Those would be the dots. And so the combination of those two are the ways that you directly monetize via television advertising sales.
What do you say to the resident that says, you know, guys, you've made a good case, but I can't vote for this because I just don't want the city of Sturgis to lose money?
It's completely understandable. Our position on that is that this thing will not cause the city of Sturgis to lose money. This will actually dramatically increase the city of Sturgis's revenue base over the course of the term.
I'll follow up on that if you know. There's another resident, just the hypothetical resident, that says, I don't like it when these out of town people come in and take all the money. I've heard that as a comment.
Why are we paying these out of town?
Why are we paying these out of town?
$650,000.
Yeah, and there's an out of town. I mean, this is it's local politics kind of happens, right? But anything on that kind of line?
Yeah, I'd like to tackle that in two different areas. Our goal was to come into the community and be a part of it for the long term, and so we've joined the local Chamber of Commerce. We've come up here. Richie's 12th trip. We've also had other trips to come up.
Ricky's home buying purchase.
Yeah, I was on Zillow.
We're kidding.
And so our goal is to make sure that the citizens of Sturgis know who we are, and they know that we want to be a part of this community. We're honored to have the opportunity to come into your homes and to be welcome with open arms for years to come would be our goal. And so we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we understand the city of Sturgis and its citizens so that we can then contribute in a meaningful way.
Why does a race cost $650,000?
This one in particular has that price point because of the cost of the barriers that need to be purchased in order to construct the circuit on the streets. The cost of those barriers is in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so we're looking at every opportunity to find a way can we rent those? Are there other opportunities that would lower that cost? And we would pass those savings on to the citizens and on to the city of Sturgis. But the initial plan, we went and got bids from 3 different providers, and the cheapest one that we could find is $380,000. And that's the cheapest. So it's not an insignificant number.
So it's possible the ultimate cost per year won't be $650,000. Is that true?
Yes, yeah, that's absolutely true. And one of the things that we had said to the city is that as we work together and identify partners that could offset some of these costs, we'll of course pass those savings on to the city. The $650,000 number is the highest expense that the city would incur.
I think there are residents out there that believe we're just lining the pockets of AMA Pro by writing them a giant check.
No, certainly.
I think that's how they'd word it, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's how a number of people feel. You know.
Yeah, no, that's certainly not the case.
We are bringing the new OEMs to our sport, and that means a lot to us. The other manufacturers and Harley Davidson, and that's a big move for us. And to be involved with Big Fox, which we have never been on Big Fox, and we feel that only happened because the combination of the streets of Sturgis and where we're having it, it just makes sense. So I think that's the real value for us. And again, the big misconception is that we're taking the money. We're not.
The Sturgis Rally, as famous as it is, probably couldn't get on Big Fox by itself. And you all, as successful as you've been in motorcycle racing, haven't had a race on Fox. And there's a little magic in this combination.
Yeah, we have the opportunity in our contract to request a time on Fox, but it's Fox's network. They decide what content goes on there. We have, of course, always requested, hey, what would it take for us to get on Big Fox? Oh, no. Yeah, maybe next year.
Right.
As this was coming together, we had a conversation with one of the executives at Fox about the fact that this would be a street race, and he goes, "Oh, hold on, keep me informed on that. I want to know more about that." We said, "Okay, well, what about our, we're working on a renewal for the rest of the series." No, that's a different department, but definitely let me know about that street race that comes together.
Right.
So there's something magical about the combination of the city of Sturgis downtown being a street race, American flat track, and this new adventure bike class. Street racing is in the zeitgeist. We got NASCAR has their Chicago street race. F1 has their Vegas street race. This is the first one that has come up in motorcycling. So this is our opportunity to catch that wave, and Fox recognized that.
even though it's not a direct economic impact in the short run, one of the things I think has remarkable value about this thing being on Fox is we talked a little bit about B-roll and about how you can be here ahead of this race and during the week in the heart of the rally, shooting some iconic things like Sturgis Main Street in all its glory and all the bikes parked there, or I'm making these up, but a huge concert at the Buffalo Chip and overhead from there, or
Main
Deadwood.
Street, Deadwood, a shout out to the Buffalo Chip. People riding through the canyon,
The Needles Highway,
the Needles
the Mount
Highway,
Rushmore.
Sylvan Lake, Mount Rushmore. I mean, it becomes quite an ad for South Dakota. Taking aside from the debate of the referendum, just on the logistics of this being good for the state are inarguable.
And then and then that footage being used bumping in and out of commercial breaks, that is a tourism tool that is almost hard to calculate the value of.
Yes, certainly. And when we come into a market and we start to shoot the B-roll content, we do that. We look for local flavor. We want to tell the story of the location that we're in and the people that are there and the community and the businesses. And the Black Hills it's so rich in culture and there's so many opportunities. It's almost unbounded. So I remember the first year that I flew here and landed at Rapid City Airport, walked out of the airport, and I went, "Oh my God!" It blew my mind.
This is how when we fly, Dean and I will fly back home, right? And you know how we know we're home. It's one of the few airports when you land, you can sometimes see, hear, and smell cattle.
Yes, very true.
That's how you know you're home, baby.
To add to Gene's comment, this is, and he can explain this better than I, but we control the product. We have our own production, so we will. Then Gene, go ahead and explain that, because that's important, because that's what will go on Big Fox.
So when we first were wanting to get on television, we needed to make an investment, and so we invested in instead of renting trucks. We knew this was going to be a long-term strategic play for us to remain on television and to grow our audience base that way. And so we invested in a TV truck. We have between 16 and 18 events a year, and it made way more financial sense, especially over the last decade that we've been on television. It made way more financial sense for us to invest in our own production capabilities. So we have a TV truck that is industry standard. It's a very, very nice TV truck that we have incrementally improved over the years. And we hire all of our own crew, and Fox trusts us to produce the shows and to tell the story of not just the race, but again of the local community in the areas that we visit. And that gives us the ability to then go to the city of Sturgis and say, what story do you want to tell? How would you like us to frame up the city? What are some important shots or iconic views that you would like to get included into the broadcast? In other years, the start of my career, we didn't have those capabilities, and we had sold our TV rights. And then there's a third-party production company that doesn't necessarily have the same level of care and touch that we do, because we're there doing the deal with the city, right?
And that opportunity, the thing is, I think some rally naysayers might say, well, do we really need the rally to be that much bigger? And of course, a person like me, I want it to be bigger, but I can see how a lot of residents don't. But this benefit goes far beyond that, because this can create tourism activity in a much broader area than just the 2 weeks of the Sturgis Rally. It can be people see these sites and the beauty of it and want to come here and spend their money.
Oh, without a doubt. If you look at the opportunity that exists, especially with Big Fox and reaching America's living rooms, there are going to be people that maybe have heard about Sturgis before, but they may have an opinion of it that is old or outdated or inaccurate. So this gives an opportunity to really paint the Black Hills region, the city of Sturgis and South Dakota, in a very positive light and make it a tourist destination.
Well, and that's following up on South Dakota, and specifically the Black Hills, is having a multi-year post-COVID boom. There's a lot of people moving here. We've had national and regional tourism ads because of the popularity of our governor. I mean, you see the statistical difference of that now. Right?
Coming from Florida, where our entire economy is tourism focused, right, and living in an event city, there's no doubt that the impact that tourism has on an industry will improve it across the board. And when I'm in Florida and I'm driving up and down the highway, I take for granted the investments that have been made in public infrastructure because of the tourism dollars that have come in. We have great roads that are well lit and huge signage. And then there are some other states we go to where I have difficulty navigating, especially.
Another small thing, we don't pay income tax in the state.
Yeah, yes.
We don't have state income tax
state
here
income
either.
tax.
Yeah,
That's great.
You're right about tourism. I mean, I'm always on my soapbox about the rally and how, people say our town needs to be more about the 2 weeks of the rally, and I say it is so much more than that. We, when we first started doing business in downtown Sturgis, the tourism season really was 3 weeks long or 4 weeks long, and now because of the rally, the tourism season runs May
6 months
to October, and the vast majority of the people that stop in our town May to October, besides during the rally, still stop in the town because of the notoriety of the rally, and the dollars from that, when outside money comes into a town and leaves their money behind, and that reverberates around the community after that, that's hard to replace. I mean, that's about the best thing that can happen to a town.
yes, and there's a multiplier too, because
Absolutely.
it's not just the dollar getting spent the first time; it's the B2B, it's the other distributors and the other companies within the area that are going to benefit from the dollar that outside dollar that comes in.
Absolutely. I did tell on Facebook when I made we had done a promotion about this, and then I had commented on it, and I said if people want to leave constructive questions here, I'll ask them. So some of these you've covered, but I want to ask some of these. So. There's a Patrick Garvin that says, Dean, the main question is, what is the return for the citizens of Sturgis? We spend $3 million and get to watch a race. We keep hearing about sponsorships. Show us when and how the money comes back. We could be using $3 million to enhance our community and lower property taxes. If we're investing $3 million, how and when do we make it back plus a return? If we can't be showing that, why would we spend the money? You've answered some of this, but what's your answer to that question?
So if I told you that if you gave me $3 million and I gave you $6 million back, you would consider that to be a wise investment, right?
Right. Okay, well said.
We already have 17 companies that are ready to bring outside investment into the city of Sturgis, and those will be long term. When the manufacturers come in and start doing demo rides, and they see the opportunity and the number of citizens, the number of attendees that come through, the number of potential customers that they can get in front of, this will be a long term relationship with these brands that come into the city of Sturgis. This is not a one and done.
Darla Burge asks, she said, I heard tonight that the promoter of a Peoria TT pays less than $200,000 for their race, less than a third of what the city is paying. What's the difference?
$380,000 in walls.
Sorry.
And why do you have to have those walls? I don't know if we've totally touched on that.
Yeah, the walls are there to protect the attendees and to protect the city property. They're to protect the athletes that are competing. We are talking about motorcycles that have 100 horsepower that are going to be going as fast as they can down Main Street. When they get to 3rd and they need to make that left, we need to have walls there. We also need to have walls along Main Street so that there's no concern about any kind of safety issues or anything. You want to keep the competitors and the motorcycles and the attendees apart.
Again, you've answered a lot of this as well, but I would definitely want to get in. Cammie Grubel, she owns a business on Main Street in Sturgis, a really respected business person, and she had said, she says, we have an open mind and we'll be attending and listening. She says, the one question I have, and she says she did ask several council members, is what is the end goal for Sturgis? Are we looking at increased sales tax revenue, sponsorship money, increased advertising, thereby increasing overall rally numbers over time? What are the tangible benefits for Sturgis? You've been over a lot of this. But.
Yes, and yes.
Lee Rude, and I'm going to read his whole thing because a lot of it is questions we've already been over. But one piece of his says, he'd be interested to know why the city or AMA Pro isn't interested in using the half-mile racetrack instead.
I heard that a few times, actually.
Yeah.
We absolutely are interested in using that. And in fact, if there would be an opportunity in the future where we could have another race there, that would be tremendous. That goes all the way back to 1938 and the origins of the rally. We would love to have an opportunity to race there.
Maybe some of the profits from the race could go to to rebuild that facility and make it raceable.
Mm-hmm.
And we would be the first ones to be there with open arms.
Okay. Tony Fisher, I'm because we have only a limited amount of time, I'm kind of whittling some of these down. But this person seems to have a concern about the viewing experience, because it'll be hard to see much of the track from where you are. So to address the viewing experience.
So the viewing experience will be along all of the sidewalks, around the entire city, around all the way down Main Street on both sides, and then around the outside of the track, going down 3rd and up Sherman and back up. So it's a pretty significant amount of linear feet, and it can certainly
that you can
support.
see from one location.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Or different locations if you wanted to walk. You could walk on the perimeter or go in the inside. And then we also, there's opportunity to have VIP areas. And so there's many plans for that, for viewing. We take that very serious. We want not just the TV to be able to see it. We want the people that come down and watch it to be able to see the race.
Perhaps it's cost prohibitive, but has there been any thought given to jumbotrons or things like that can help you understand who's in what place and see a little video and that kind of thing?
Yes, at every one of our events we have a jumbotron, and at this event we have planned for 2, and could certainly add more. But yes, we since we're producing this show for live on Flow Sports, and then it's also going to be broadcast on Fox. While we're producing it, we absolutely will be feeding that video anywhere and everywhere we can. We could even feed it into the local businesses.
This is a totally different topic, but Bonnie Lang, a Sturgis resident, says, it's my understanding Grace Lutheran will be blocked off for Sunday parking. Does this, will the event affect other places of worship?
The Lutheran Church, we have worked out a parking lot for them where they can use their parking lot, cross the track, and then leave. They'll be able to use their existing lot. We have an exit plan for them, and then we start the racetrack, and then everything. We are looking at doing a deal with the Catholic Church, with Father Timothy, for possibly one of our sections there, and we've worked out with the guy that rents that from him. We've worked out an option there as well, so no one will be affected with their church services. We really take that seriously, and we want to make sure that everybody can go to their place of worship and not have an issue.
I think to some people it's a little mind-boggling that you would be able to come in Saturday night, set this thing up, not make any noise until afternoon so that church services can go on, put the race on, tear it down, package it up, remove all the dirt and be gone, and do it that quickly.
Well, we're pretty efficient in how we do this. I'll give you one example. We've raced at the Buffalo Chip, and we've been the opening act for Shinedown. And Woody gave us 45 minutes.
That seems a little generous for Woody.
And I had a beer in my hand at 1 hour.
But the barriers, what Gene's talking about is the barriers, the streets will be opened. We're working with the city on that. With Rick, and so we have a plan on that. The dirt, that we could go into Monday cleaning that up. We want to leave it better than we found it. So what we're not going to do is rush out of there and leave something that's not better, or at least as good as we found it.
And even though we're out of time, do talk about that for a second. You spoke at the forum about how you can get that dirt in and out of there and not leave a mess. Just talk about that just for a second.
So we have a great relationship with our partner Caterpillar in the cat rental store. And we have experience with putting dirt down on asphalt and then picking it up and leaving it clean. When we raced at Daytona International Speedway with the Daytona TT, which one day we'd love to get back, when we raced there, we had to put dirt down onto pit lane. And so what we do is we put down visqueen, we put down plywood, we put the dirt down on top of that. That way, when we reverse that and we remove the dirt, it's clean underneath. We can pull that plywood up in visqueen. We don't even have to pressure wash anything.
Guys, before I let you go, we got to wrap up. I wanted you to be able to, get on the record anything you wanted to, and I think we've been able to accomplish that. But what would you say to the people that are still undecided about how they want to vote on Tuesday?
Well, our goal is to come in and to leave the community in a better place and to bring investment into the city of Sturgis. And our hope is that this will continue for many, many, many years. And the only way that would work is if it's a win-win for the citizens, it's a win-win for the city, and then we can come in, we can bring investment in, and the citizens want us back. So our humble desire is to be able to have that opportunity to show the citizens of Sturgis what benefits we can bring to the community and to the city and to the citizens.
I would like to extend my appreciation because everyone has treated me very kindly, and I've been up here a lot. And I appreciate the conversations and the open mind that everyone has had. And I would just ask them to really think about the facts and the fact that we came up here and we're open-minded and we're open for these questions. And we want to be a partner.
Well, and
we
that's
want to be a long-term partner.
That's where I'd like to credit you guys. Well, Richie specifically, opposition, mad as a hornet. You've been willing to sit with everybody, whether you're going to take a chewing for it or not. And I think that's impressive in these deals.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate all of your time. Appreciate everybody that spent time listening. The city election's on Tuesday. A lot of things on the ballot, including this. Hope everybody gets out and exercises their right to vote. Kevin Phillips, just around the corner. Thank you for joining us.